Hello, everyone. You have arrived at the film strip. I am Lena. I'm really excited to start doing this sort of course that I put together in the time that I'm going to be home because everyone's home, because great. But I thought this would be a really fun way to sort of get people. I think we kind of really all need rom-coms right now for various reasons, and I'm excited to start talking to people about them, kind of give more of a history or more context and more history about them. I think it'll be really fun, and I'm excited to hear back from you guys. Before I start in on specific movies that you can read about in the syllabus, I'll cover that a little bit later. It's a syllabus. I just wanted to do a couple of housekeeping things, just sort of some intro to film stuff if you haven't really looked at film critically before. I want to sort of get really quickly, like very briefly, sort of cover some stuff and then kind of go over what this is going to look like because I haven't done anything like this before. But hopefully, you'll enjoy it. So, the first thing I wanted to talk about is sort of the way that people watch films or the way that film language works. And there's a lot of reading you could do about it. There's a lot of stuff out there. I'm not going to talk a lot about theory because I want to keep this very light and conversational. So I'm not really interested in bringing in barths or anything. You can definitely do those readings, and I encourage you to do those readings because it can be really educational and fun, especially for a nerd like me. But I'm not going to assign readings between movies or anything. It's mostly going to be our own subjective personal opinions. And as long as you have textual evidence to support any opinion, then it's valid. That's the whole secret of the liberal arts, honestly. It's not just film. So regarding film, there are very basic things that we can talk about. One of the easiest ways for me to talk about different mediums and the way that they work is actually in comparison to other mediums, because film is a combination of, and then also the sum of, more than the sum of, different mediums. In film, you could frame something and it would look like a piece of art. Those things create emotion, it moves you. If you look at an oil painting, but paintings are static. The way that film is different is that it's more ephemeral, it's moving, it's alive. And that way, it's more like a play where you're interpreting things as they happen and there's no one static image. You have to take it as a whole. But what differentiates the film from the play is that your focus is on certain things. The way that happens is that the camera frames the film. So you're being directed, your focus is on one part of the thing unfolding. So you're not looking at the entire stage and you don't get to choose what you're looking at. There might be something happening in the corner, like on stage, there might be 10 different things happening on the stage at the same time. But in film, you don't get to choose what angle you're watching from. You don't get to choose how long the shot is. You don't get to choose what you're looking at. Those things are sort of given over to you for a purpose. The very basic thing that I want to get over to you is that the camera frames things so you watch the action unfold in certain ways. And those ways convey emotion. So while you're watching film, you should basically always be thinking, why is this the way that the story is being told? What is trying to be conveyed to me? What am I looking at? Why am I looking at it? And that's just very, very building block stuff for film studies. Also important is, how is the film making you feel and why? That's sort of a par with everything else that I've been saying, but that's an important thing because the purpose of the film is to either make you like someone, dislike someone, feel uncomfortable. There are millions of different ways that film tries to elicit emotion from you. So now we get to have a little fun. We get to talk about the actual romantic comedies and sort of the syllabus and why I chose the movies that I chose and the sort of scope of what I'm doing. So because we only have 4 weeks, I chose 8 movies. I had to dwindle it down, really. I had to be really, really harsh, but I chose 8 movies that I hope are representative of the different sort of subgenres of romantic comedy that sort of lead us to where we are now, that are representative, so you get a good enough or a very basic understanding of the fundamental building blocks of romantic comedy. The first thing that we need to address is that I'm doing mostly 20th century movies. I'm doing a little bit of the early aughts, but I think you can sort of bridge that a little bit into the late 90s. And I'm not doing silent movies, so I'm starting with pre-code. Unfortunately, I don't know of any particular romantic comedies from the silent era. There are comedies that have romantic elements, or a girl who, Buster Keaton wants to get with, but I don't know of any romantic comedies that are sort of equal in where the main plot centers on a romantic pairing. Okay, now we get to go into the themes of romantic comedies. These are things that I personally have identified that I think are really interesting about the films. These are things that you should maybe be thinking about throughout each film that we look at, because they're sort of universal to the genre. And these are by far not the only themes in the movies, but these are the ones that I find really interesting, that I keep coming back to the genre and why I keep enjoying it. So the themes are class, upending, and disruption. And you can ask yourself, upending of what? What are they disrupting? A battle or negotiation of the sexes. It's not always a battle, but there's always some sort of communication happening. Subversion, subversion of expectations, subversion of gender, subversion of cultural norms. Modernity versus timelessness, what makes a timeless romantic, but also a lot of romantic comedies are, the modern woman, what dating is like now, how it's different than what it was like 20 years ago. But there's also a timelessness of romance, these things have plagued us for the ages. Similarly, cynicism versus idealism, converting the cynic, or idealism winning out, or the reverse. How cynical should you be about romance? How idealistic is it to believe in someone else? And then finally, what do these films tell us about how we function as a society and how we communicate? Because there is a lot of heteronormativity, so a lot of it is through the lens of how men communicate with women, but it's also how we negotiate social spaces. A lot of the crux of romantic comedies is a reflection back to us about how we participate in society, while also giving us ideas about it. So now that we've done themes, we can talk a little bit about the expectations for the class. It's relatively low. I generally just want to have discussions after every viewing. So the way that it's going to work is that in the morning, on Wednesdays and Sundays, it's a little bit different than this week, but usually it's going to be on Wednesdays and Sundays. I'm going to upload sort of questions that I want people to think about for the movie, a little bit of context, maybe historically, for how the movie was made. And then I've assigned a sort of time to watch the movie. For me, it's going to be from 6 to 8, but you can actually just watch it anytime during the day. At 8:30, I'm going to be live on YouTube and answering questions and hosting a discussion. So every Wednesday and Sunday, it's a new movie day, and then we're having class at the end of the day. Obviously, it's Thursday, so the first movie, Designed for Living, is actually going to be today and not yesterday, obviously. So it's going to be at 8. The discussion is going to be at 8:30 tonight. Additionally, like I said, there aren't going to be any readings. You can definitely read your own, do your own research, come with as much knowledge as you want about the film. I'm just not going to assign anything because I don't want to talk about the readings during the discussion. I'd rather talk about the film. I also included on the syllabus extra viewings that you could do, sort of extra examples that I couldn't fit into the syllabus. I felt bad, and I think they're actually really good examples of the different sub-genres that I'm talking about. And that about wraps us up. Like I said, the syllabus is in the comments, so you can download it, you can look at it, you can see what's coming up. The first week is going to be Pre-Code and Screwballs, so we're watching Designed for Living and The Awful Truth this week, two of my favorite movies. So hopefully you'll be able to join us for that. If you enjoy the film series, if you want to see me continue doing this, I also included a Venmo link in the comments. Consider donating to that. I'm going to post one more video that's specifically about Designed for Living, and that should be up really soon. And then otherwise, I will see you guys at 8:30. So I'm looking forward to this. Okay.